Hello and welcome back to Invincible Asia. I'm George Clark and this is another episode of Deep Impact, where today I take a look back at the issue from October 1994, an issue that really doesn't seem to be that appealing to a Hong Kong action movie fan, but I'm really hoping that what's inside is actually a wee bit more exciting. Now, let's go Deep Impact. Don't forget folks, before we go any further, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, ring the bell and all that jibber jabber, and thank you very much for supporting Invincible Asia. So yeah, when I picked this up initially, I wasn't too excited with what was on offer here. I mean, it's a nicely designed front cover for sure, but Wyatt Earp just wasn't a draw for me back then. Neither was Harrison Ford's new thriller, to be honest, or the offer of a free Green Hornet poster mag, which is no longer there of course. But then I saw this wild shot of Richard Norton right there for Supreme Warrior, as well as Jackie Chan, Roy Horan, Jet Li and Bodyguard from Beijing around the edge, and I was sold. So let's get stuck in. Inside, we start with a full-page ad for the MAI Videotech release of Bruce Lee Martial Arts Master. Apparently, it's the definitive video on the life and death of the man himself. But weren't they all, hey? Opposite, we get the contents and editorial, breaking down everything that's included in this issue, along with the regulars down below. In Baywatch, Logan talks about fandom, what fans are really like, and how a fan like Andy Stanton can put together a documentary like Bruce Lee Martial Arts Master. I can see why they stuck that ad right there now. Anyway, it's not enough to make me read it all, so let's move on. A couple of big Hollywood flicks kick off this issue, starting with Harrison Ford's Clear and Present Danger, a fantastic movie that I haven't seen in some time, but I'm in no rush back to it. The article is written by Ian Fryer and is a pretty decent layout overall, with Ford returning as Jack Ryan after his adventures in Patriot Games. Overleaf, we have another two-page article, this time on Jeff Bridges and Tommy Lee Jones's thriller Blown Away. Again, another one I haven't seen since its release, but I did like it. Of course, it was a bit close to home, using the troubles of Northern Ireland as its main backdrop, and on top right here you can see his dad, popular actor Lloyd Bridges, wrapped in wires for an explosive scene, ironically playing a father figure to his son in the movie. Another great layout and definitely a movie I should check out again pretty soon. Next up, we have The Lightning Rod, 2 of 3 funky pages of news which I remember quite well because of this outrageous picture of Cynthia Rothrock in the corner, but we'll get back to that. First up, we have a piece on the Charlie Sheen action thriller Fixing the Shadow, co-starring Michael Madsen and Rip Torn. But if you're looking for it, you may search under its retitling of Beyond the Law, and no, not the Cynthia Rothrock one from 1989 that was originally known as City Cops. Below that, a blurb on Streets of Rage, unfortunately not an adaptation of the awesome fighting game, starring former pro wrestler Mimi Licios and her attempt to become a martial arts star. Up top, the animated feature Batman Mask of the Phantasm, which was fabulous, gets a piece, while down below, Impact seemingly retracts its past comments in last issue's Word Up about Sophia Crawford being touted as the female Punisher for Marvel. Well, don't believe a word. It goes on to say how Crawford herself stated that no one approached her, and the article finishes by saying, "Just goes to show you can't believe all you read, unless it's an Impact of course." Jesus Christ, it was only an Impact where we read this news. Oh, how ridiculous. Up top again, a piece on Evan Laurie getting a role in the oddly named Techno Sapiens, followed by a blockspurb on several Arab-American organisations that boycotted Arnie's True Lies, claiming that it had a negative impact on the community. And then finally, will this dragon enter? Avedon and Rothrock set to reunite? Maybe. Menachem Golan's International Dynamic Pictures have announced the reteaming of Raging Thunder stars Cindy Rothrock and Loren Avedon. However, La Rothrock asks that credits are not contractual, I'm guessing they've missed a word in there, and as far as she's concerned, the project is far from a go. The poster's good, well, half of it anyway. Absolutely not, the poster is horrendous. Cindy looks like a demented hooker. Still, I'd love to have seen it regardless. Of course, While these two would go on to appear in Tiger Claws 3 in 1999, they wouldn't actually star together as a duo until Godfrey Ho's forgotten last feature, Manhattan Chase, in the year 2000. Now, that's an experience you should go check out. The lightning rod continues on page 10 with a quick piece on Kickboxer 5. Don't believe a word, department? Take two. Case in point, Kickboxer 5. Oh, here we go again. Advanced posters had Sasha Mitchell back for a fourth high-kicking outing. Instead, it's rising star Mark Dacascos, to the amazement of everyone, shooting this film in South Africa. Anyway, next to that, a cool piece on the very fun and very forgotten 90s anime, Fatal Fury. Manga madness continues. The Japanimation invasion continues apace around the globe. Our own manga video label continues to turn out top-of-the-range anime products. Several of its more popular titles are available in a variety of formats. For example, Crying Freeman and Fist of the North Star are both available in their original comic book manga incarnations, and both titles have American movie versions in the wings. Fist, starring our own Gary Daniels, is already completed, and Crying Freeman is set to star Keanu Reeves. Well, that obviously didn't happen. The American version of Guyver, Mutronics, was actually released here before the original anime, and a sequel, Dark Warrior, is already in the can. In Hong Kong, movie versions of animated characters that are already the subject of TV shows still get screened in cinemas. Japanimated films to receive this largesse include Dragon Ball Z and Ranma Half. Other recent anime theatrical hits include a new Crying Freeman feature and an animated version of the video game Fatal Fury. All of that and all of those pictures just to mention it right at the very end. Jesus. Jackie Chan takes bottom left with Give That Man Chan a Big Hand. Oh my god. Wacky Jackie adds his paw prints to those already on display in Hong Kong's Planet Hollywood. The Eastern Eatery has answered criticisms that its opening ceremony ignored local talent by promoting events featuring local stars like Chan, Maggie Cheung, Stephen Chow and Andy Lau. And finally, a piece here on Hulk Hogan and his wrestling cohorts taking drugs to become big and strong. Shock horror. Opposite, we have Word Up, a collection of tidbits that may or may not prove informative to fans of film. There's only a few of interest to me here, with most of them all being Hollywood based. Walter Hill is still boldly going in search of his influences. Having done Sam Peckinpah with his lackluster remake of The Getaway, the 48 Hours Helmer is now doing Akira Kurosawa with a retelling of the classic Yojimbo. That's one tough act to follow, especially when you consider A Fistful of Dollars already redid it so well. This from a man who refused to shoot a remake of John Woo's The Killer because it was a classic. Very true. Below that, fan fave Billy Blanks, last seen opposite Roddy Piper in Back in Action, is reunited with regular sparring partner Jalal Murhi for Expect No Mercy. The pair were previously teamed in Talons of the Eagle and TC 2000. Great show, really enjoyed that one. And lastly, Van Damme's long-awaited directorial debut, The Quest, is set to shoot in Beijing this December, with the backing of Universal. The film was originally designed as Jean-Claude's own sequel to Bloodsport, and it looks like The Quest could still beat the official and long-delayed Marc Dussal produced Bloodsport 2 to the screen. Page 12 gives us an ad for the MAI hotline where you can get some inside goss on all the big stars, and below that, Fortunes of War. Ian Fryer looks at the modern day war film, and one such film called Fortunes of War starring Matt Salinger. Opposite though, we have our man Jackie Chan and a story on the re-release of two classics, Project A and Dragons Forever, via the yellow-sleeved Popular Progress label. Two Chan classics make a welcome return. A new video label, Popular Progress Video, hits the sell-through shelves with a pair of re-releases that should be guaranteed to appeal to most Impact readers, a pair of Jackie Chan classics. Project A from 1984 is one of Jackie's most famous films, and quite justly so, since the film has a cinematic sweep rarely seen till that time in Asian cinema. Set in late 19th century Hong Kong, the film features Jackie as Dragon, a member of a Coast Guard patrol whose record in combating pirates is so poor that the corps is disbanded and its members drafted into the police. The transition is less than smooth since the Coast Guard and the police have fought like cat and dog for as long as anyone can remember. Frustrated in his search for the pirates by the widespread corruption and pointless rules he finds in the police, Dragon quits the force, only to find himself pursued by the crooks in an amazing bicycle chase. When a British admiral is kidnapped for the pirates, the Brit official in charge is about to give in to their ransom demands. Dragon convinces him to do the right thing, and the Coast Guards, with the help of Dragon's con artist pal Sammo Hung and a good cop Yuen Biao, Project A is put into operation against the pirates. Project A is a terrific film with some interesting sidelights about British rule in Hong Kong, sample dialogue, British official. Of course, should anything happen to the Admiral, I'd be sent home. Police Chief, isn't this your home? Brit, spare me your funny remarks. But it suffers a little in being reduced to small screen proportions. The film was shot in widescreen with no thought made to future video sales, making it a tough film to pan and scan, and a letterbox release is a must. How about it, popular progress? No such problems with the rollicking modern-day comedy thriller Dragons Forever, in which Jackie teams up with Sammo and Yuen Biao once more. This time around, Jackie is a shyster defense lawyer whose better side makes a welcome appearance when he falls for the prosecution's star witness. He then calls on his con artist pal Sammo Hung, who also directed, for help. But, below me, Sammo falls hopelessly in love with the lady fish farm owner who's doing the prosecuting. Meanwhile, Yuen Biao gets a chance to shine as a deranged artist, surveillance expert friend of Jackie's. The plot gets terribly confusing, but matters not a jot. Instead, the whole deal is a set of simply awesome comedy fight scenes, mainly between Jackie, Sammo and Yuen, as two of them fall in love and the other becomes a paranoid maniac. The ending gets a bit more serious, presenting us with an even more magnificent battle between Jackie and Benny the Jet Urquidez, wearing some serious eyeliner. Absolutely no petty film buff style gripes here. Dragons Forever is a pretty well dead bang perfect example of the Jackie Chan comedy thriller. Congratulations to Popular Progress on having their finger on the pulse and choosing their first two releases so well. Hong Kong is where the action is, so to speak, in the action film, and there are a huge number of people out there looking for an introduction to the work of that Chan feller that everyone's talking about. They couldn't do better than investing their hard-earned in this pair. That ends with a competition to win the videos by completing the following 3 Jackie Chan films: City Hunter, Police Story, and Armor of God. Oh, tricky questions. Cool stuff, moving on. Those 2 bloody ads for attracting girls and building muscles follows on the next page, along with the MAI hotlines for the exclusive Van Damme tapes. And even though this is the October issue, it's still letting us know that part 3 started on August 18th. Opposite though, CD-ROM in Hong Kong with Supreme Warrior, a new fighting game that was to include film clips during play. I'm loving the picture up top though, it just screams the 1990s. But I can see Richard Norton of course, Chuck Jeffries, the wonderful Kim Marie Penn, and I think Andy Cheng is in there too. Let's read through a bit. Rain plummets from dark Asian skies as a desperate band of warriors prepare to do battle to the death. The last reel of 7 Samurai? No, this faded oriental village is a standing set on the famed Shaw Brothers lot where, amid great secrecy, digital pictures are crafting what looks set to become the best CD-ROM bash-em-up ever. Supreme Warrior is the first such venture to combine state-of-the-art computer-generated action with some of the finest kind of martial arts movie stars. Where previous projects have employed models, dancers, and no-name no-necks, Supreme Director Guy Norris has put together the best collection of real-life warriors since Mr. Han held his last tournament. Is that Eddie Murphy in the leopard skin Tarzan outfit? No, it's the jovial Chuck Jeffries, he of Fight to Win and Honor and Glory fame. Look, up in the sky, is it a two-tone bird or plane? Nope, that's Roger Yuen of American Kickboxer and Shoot Fighter, flying through the Hong Kong skies on a wire harness. Isn't that Battling Babe from Turtles 3, and the Clubfoot guy from Once Upon a Time in China 3? And who is that masked man? Could it be Richard Norton, former Cynthia Rothrock dance partner and now an action star in his own right? What single project could have brought such a lineup to the end of the world and the cutting edge of computer game technology? It's a pretty decent piece overall, with Bay Logan writing as Bay Logan does, but the shots included are what's of interest here, to see all these guys together. And unfortunately, I think they missed a trick here in not making this a movie along the way while shooting scenes for this particular game. If Guy Norris had actually put this out as a feature film, it would have drummed up even more interest in people wanting to buy the Supreme Warrior game. It's not a game I ever got my hands on. I don't even know how it did when it got released. If you did play this though, please let me know in the comments below. It would be great to know what you thought of it. Perhaps at the very least someone should put out a documentary on the making of it so we get to see behind the scenes and all these guys and the late Richard Norton in action. On page 18 and 19, a double page spread on Wyatt Earp, the Kevin Costner smash hit that gets a good spread here courtesy of Ian Fryer. Ian Fryer takes a look at a film of epic proportions which proved too honest for most Americans while still playing fast and loose with the historical truth. Wyatt Earp, American hero. The resurgence of the American Western has continued apace this year with smaller films like the superb The Last Outlaw and the upcoming Dead Man's Revenge, and stonking great ones like Lawrence Kasdan's and Kevin Costner's Wyatt Earp. Wyatt Earp is a big film in the true sense, not just in terms of budget, but in terms of scope. Unlike Tombstone, which covered the famous gunfight at the OK Corral, Wyatt Earp covers the whole of the eponymous character's life. Good stuff, another nice article, but not for me. Moving on. Next up is a 2-page ad for MAI Videotech, this time selling thrillers and some action adventures. Always a fun read before the internet came about. 2 more wasted pages follow on 22 and 23 with the flick knife troll teaching the secrets of street self-defense, while Jim Carrey as the Mask gets a write-up opposite. Better late than never, it says, but is it really the type of action film for Impact Action Movie Magazine? I don't think so. Moving on. Following that, we get a 3-page write-up for British television show called The Wanderer, a highly regarded show starring Australian actor Brian Brown as 2 immortal twin knights. One good, one evil. The show was written by Roy Clark, no relation to me, although I do literally have an uncle by that name. But this is the same man behind British comedy gold series like Open All Hours, Last of the Summer Wine, and Keeping Up Appearances, among many others. That said, this was a pretty serious affair and is still considered one of his best works today. Not too sure if it's aged well though, but it would be fun to revisit someday soon. Next to that, we have a lengthy write-up on the late, great Peter Cushing, who had only just passed away a lot of weeks before this issue came out. I absolutely love Peter Cushing. He is one of my favourite things about the old Hammer horror classics, and such an incredible actor. Once again, Ian Fryer delivers the article on the screen legend, which makes for an interesting read, but there's a few more things in here that interest me a bit more. The Impact Letters page is next, where Michael from No Fixed Abode wants confirmation that Van Damme was once in the rubber suit of the Predator before Kevin Peter Hall took over. Linda from Scotland wants a list of Scottish cinemas where she can watch Hong Kong movies, good luck with that one, while S.G. Smith from Hertfordshire wants a poster of Eddie Stazak in Strike of the Panther. Simon Heath sounds like a bit of an arse, stating that he hates all Hong Kong action stars and claims that John Woo's talents will be put to good use in Hollywood instead of being wasted in all that Chinese shit. Whoa, was he wrong. He also claims that there's far too much coverage on Hong Kong movies and stars in the magazine, while everyone else thinks quite the opposite. But hey, he thought On Deadly Ground and Beverly Hills Cop 3 were great films. Simon then signs off by saying, "Keep all that Hong Kong crap for China Beat." Like I say, arsehole. Below that, a blurb on sending your complaints about censorship to the MPs at the House of Commons, and down the side, the usual list of fan club addresses for Big Arnie, Van Damme, John Wayne, and Yumbio. Overleaf, it's the TV scene where they cover the video release of shows such as South Beach, The Incredible Hulk Returns, and Star Trek The Next Generation. Next to that, Dragon the Bruce Lee story in the return of Mega Movies. Actually, I think the Mega in this article refers to the Sega Mega Drive, since this is for the Dragon game, a beat 'em up which came out for Sega, the Super Nintendo, and more. I never did get the chance to play it, but Impact says it'll have some tough competition against games such as Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat 2. Looks fun, but moving on. Next up is John Mosby's review of Speed, starring Keanu Reeves, Sandra Bullock, and Dennis Hopper. It's a pretty fair review, as expected, of course. It is an entertaining movie, just one I've probably seen enough by this stage in my life. He does finish the article by saying that on his bus ride home, a girl beside him kept an eye on the bus driver while he was pretty sure that the ticking they could hear was from his watch. Ugh, John, honestly, rascal. Over on page 34 we get Hollywood Retro, a highly dated looking piece covering Hollywood legends, this time Sean Connery. The article covers his life and career like those before him, finishing up with a full third page that just lists the films of his that you need to see. Next to that, Video Scream, and an article on the 90s remake of Attack of the 50-Foot Woman starring Daryl Hannah. She ain't daddy's little girl anymore. What a great tagline. I've never seen it, nor do I want to, but there was the chance to win a copy of it on video down below here. Wonder how many entrants they had for this one. Anyway, moving on. Next we have the Classifieds, most of which is covered by Impact and MAI selling their space and Videotech, while the other few promote the Chartbusters Video Club, a pen pal magazine for adults only, and discounted photos on all the stars. Opposite though, we have China Beat, which seems to carry a second title of Hong Kong Offbeat. Hot news and reviews from Great Britain's fantastic filmmaking colony. I always remember this one though because of this cool shot of Donnie Yen as Kung Fu Master Hung Hei Kwun. Let's read through though. Although it made hardly a ripple at the local box office waters, Brandy Yuen's Master of Zen is a uniquely spiritual production given the rampant commercialization of the industry within which it was made. The tale of the mystic Bodhidharma's development of Zen Buddhism in old China is told with some spectacular visuals, some impressive martial artistry, and a fine central performance by Derek Yee, younger brother of famed Shaw Brothers actor David Chang. The film received a deserved outing at the Sydney Film Festival. There's more faith per frame of Master of Zen than there is in the whole of Bertolucci's extravagant but hollow Little Buddha. Now there's a movie I would like to see put out on Blu-ray by Eureka or Idiot Films, Master of Zen, such a cool movie. Below that, visually stunning but lacking a heart, Lee Yang Kong's, as in Daniel Lee, What Price Survival is a misplaced and modernised Shaw Brothers style swordplay fable. Veteran chop sucky stars David Chang and Choi Soo-ming, although I do believe it is Choi Soo-kung, return to the fray as members of bitterly rival schools of bladesmanship. Cantopop teeny bopper Charlie Yeung adds current marquee value currency, but is rather miscast as a swordswoman. The production values are superb, but a more bleak and heartless film you'll never see. I actually quite like What Price Survival. I think it is a fabulous movie, and again, another one I would love to see put out on Blu-ray. Up top, actor Frankie Chan has long been a favourite player of ours. Burning Ambition and Outlaw Brothers provided showcases for both Chan himself and then rising star Yukari Oshima. Recent vehicles like Fun and Fury and Oh Yes Sir had their moments, though they were less well received. Frankie's latest feature, Warrior's Tragedy, is a misjudged attempt to shoot a blackly comic period piece. The great Ti Lung, used to such good effect in Sammo's Blade of Fury, Iron Kwok's Barefoot Kid and Jackie's Drunken Master 2, is wasted here, as are Chan's undeniable talents. The real tragedy is that this film was made at all. Well, that's harsh, I actually quite enjoy it. After something of a lean spell, the fortunes of fan fave Donnie Yen are back on the rise. Impact caught a sneak peek at the Yenster's latest feature, High Voltage, and it sees him back in modern day action with a vengeance. Donnie also plays the title role in the big-budget ATV series Hung Hei Kwun, which will put him back on centre stage before millions of Chinese worldwide. And finally, Killer's romance star Simon Yam, seen recently in a whole string of Category 3 exploitationers, is back in the headlines with tragic fantasy Tiger of Wan Chai, which tells the story of real life, or rather real dead, Triad Chief Ant Lee Chan, gunned down in Macau last November. Ironically, Simon's brother, Yam Tat Wing, is a senior officer in Hong Kong's Organised Crime and Triad Bureau. Down below we have News Update. Once Upon a Time seems an appropriate title for the 5th official Choi Hark produced Wong Fei Hung flick. At the time of writing, Harvest had still yet to determine a release date for the flick. The poor box office of Drunken Master 3 is said to be a factor. Production of Jackie Chan's Rumble in the Bronx continues apace in Canada. Police Story 3 director Stanley Tong is back behind the camera. Looks like the lovely yet lethal Michelle Khan, aka Yo, may have turned her back on Hong Kong cinema. After the disappointing commercial response to her comeback, she now has her sights set on Hollywood actioneers. And finally, looks like seasonal films may be making a left turn into art house territory. Rather than the expected No Retreat, No Surrender 4, Ung Si-yoon has announced the company's next international production as being Love and Loss in Shanghai. As usual, Keith Strandberg scripts. Well, that never happened for seasonal from what I can remember. The only film around this time from them had been Choi Hark's Green Snake in 1993, then came Super Fights in 95 and Evening Liaison in 1996. That said, we definitely need a seasonal box set. Over the page, we get this gorgeous double-page spread on Jet Li and Corey Yuen-kwai's Bodyguard from Beijing, recently released on stunning 4K UHD by 88 Films and Shout Factory. The Body That Guards. Jet Li is the bodyguard from Beijing. Li Linjie's long-awaited return to the modern-day action arena takes the form of this very Chinese reworking of Kevin Costner's surprise hit The Bodyguard. Li plays a mainland army officer brought to Hong Kong to protect Americanized beauty Christy Chung. A spoiled rich man's plaything, she is soon to be a key witness in a trial, the defendant of which would be happier if she never made it to the stand. The Beijing bodyguard's no-nonsense approach puts him at odds with his client and with fat local detective Ken Chung, who had previously seen the job as a cushy gig for him and his colleagues. After Li proves his effectiveness, his foe hires another mainland warrior, Nai Xing, to take him out, setting up a one-on-one confrontation between bodyguard and assassin. After so many period pieces, beginning with his comeback role in Once Upon a Time in China, Jet makes a surprisingly smooth transition back to contemporary actioneer. Director Yuen-kwai, a past master of both genres, does a good job early in the film of bringing some of the Wong Fei-hung action style to this modern day setting. Rather than relying on fist and foot play, Li's character uses guns and arm locks, coming off like a cross between Chow Yun-fat and Steven Seagal. His undeniable screen presence enlivens a rather deadpan role, and he forms a memorable double act with his once co-star Fat Ken. Christy Chung makes the most of her window dressing role, and the growing attraction between body and bodyguard is handled remarkably deftly. As with all Yuen-kwai productions though, the performances are secondary to the action, and most of Bodyguard's stunt sequences show off the slick precision we've come to expect from this maestro of mayhem. Apparently, the film was subject to some last-minute editing adjustments after disappointing previews, and this may account for the welcome trip-hammer pace of the storytelling. Bodyguard from Beijing is a letdown in the same area that marred its American predecessor. The ending doesn't work. Confined to Chung's apartment, the gunplay of the finale sees Li mow down an apparently endless stream of bad guys. He does so with considerable style, but they would have had to have been 10 deep shoulder to shoulder for that number to be present under one roof. The climactic duel between Li and Nai is too tricky for its own good, and borrows heavily from a very similar setup in the much earlier Tiger Cage. Neither man seems prepared to stand and fight, and the resulting running battle is poorly edited and without the kind of physical and emotional payoff that the audience demands. Bodyguard from Beijing gives the currently action-starved Hong Kong film fans much to enjoy, and with a better executed ending, it could have achieved instant classic status. Flaws and all, it remains Jet Li's most internationally accessible film by virtue of the familiarity of its material. Next up for the brush-cut boy wonder is the latest official sequel to Fist of Fury. Having trodden in the footsteps of Kevin Costner, Jet's next target is Bruce Lee. But yes, it may not be his best film, although Bodyguard from Beijing is definitely very enjoyable. Good piece though, and a great layout of pictures. Video Scene follows that with short reviews on video releases of films such as Deep Red, Roadflower, Island City, California, Judgment Night, and the awesome animes Grey and Samurai Gold. 1-inch Punches runs down the side with blurbs on other releases that mention Police Story 3 and Mission of Justice. Already previewed 2 issues ago, Police Story 3 Super Cop hits the rental market on September 28th, and personally, I thought the film suffered from a slow first half. Worry not though, as the film picks up speed around the halfway mark to build up to an incredible train, motorbike, and helicopter ending which looks as dangerous as hell. As usual, The end credits sequence reveals that it really was as dangerous as hell. The American martial arts flick comes in all shapes and sizes, with the genre's best features being displayed by Mission of Justice, now out on sell-through. Jeff Wincott features as a cop who quits only to go undercover when his best mate is murdered by Bridget Nielsen's vigilante group. Wincott is terrific, showing both acting ability and stunning martial arts skills, while Karen Shepard is no slouch either as his cop partner. Nielsen is no fighter, but she has Matthias Hughes around to handle that stuff, so that's alright. Anyway, the rest of it is of no interest, so I'm moving on. And finally, the last article is the continuation of Roy Horan's Magical Martial Mystery Tour. Meeting the amiable Roy Horan today, it's hard to imagine him as the no-holds-barred martial arts master who terrorized foes on the screen and off during the late 70s heyday of Kung Fu cinema. It's easier to imagine him without his trademark beard than it is to conceive of this calm, centered father of two agreeing to take part in a death match at Golden Harvest. Horan has been on hand for the birth of a number of action movie revolutions. He dueled Jackie Chan in Snake and the Eagle's Shadow. He met Bruce Lee, or a reasonable facsimile thereof, in Bruce Lee's Treasure and Game of Death 2. Perhaps his most lasting impact on Western cinema, though, came with his involvement in the film that would become Jean-Claude Van Damme's debut, No Retreat, No Surrender. Throughout the article, he talks about how it was a joint effort in discovering Van Damme for this role in No Retreat, No Surrender, and goes on to claim that he never looked as good ever again until Hard Target. He also says how they were very disappointed when Van Damme declined to come back for Raging Thunder due to commitments with Bloodsport. Roy was also convinced that Jean-Claude had words with Kurt McKinney about the problems of shooting in Thailand, as both actors were set to return to the roles in the sequel, which meant that Roy and Seasonal had to quickly recast. Now, of course, they found the fantastic Lorraine Avedon to replace Kurt McKinney and Big Matthias Hughes for Van Damme. At the same time, though, they found the amazing Cynthia Rothrock, who I do love in Raging Thunder, and goes on to explain how she initially had more screen time, but her status in Hong Kong movies was already rising by the time they were shooting that they had to cut it short. Roy discusses how he left Seasonal Films after No Retreat, No Surrender 2 and became involved in the international distribution for other Chinese companies. During that time, he got word on the great Gary Daniels and was determined to do something with him. Roy advised Gary to move to Hong Kong for a bit to see if they could kick off his career, so to speak. Gary then gets signed up with Dean Sheck and Cinema City, who signed off on Gary making a film with Chow Yun-fat. What a shame we never got that one. Another film was to be called Death Touch, which would have been directed by Ronnie Yu, and its poster depicts Gary in a flying kick with Uzis blazing all round him, but as pre-production started, it lost all its backing and that put a stop to things. Again, what a damn shame we never got that one. The article ends by saying that Roy still lives in Hong Kong and has replaced Taekwondo with yoga, with his journey in life only just beginning. It's a good article overall again, and a great shot here with Lorraine Avedon and Cindy on the back of an elephant from a cutscene in No Retreat, No Surrender 2, Raging Thunder. How cool. Opposite to that, we have the Coming Soon page, this time highlighting Alex Baldwin's The Shadow, a piece on Don the Dragon Wilson, Robocop the TV series, and more. And finally, on the back page, a great display of past Impact issues from June 92 through to August 94, which you can see I had attempted to fill out, but I never did send it away, obviously. Anyway, this has been another episode of Deep Impact. Thank you so much for watching and for the continued support. Until next time though, enjoy your Kung Fu, and I'll see you soon. So thank you once again for watching another video here on Invincible Asia. Don't forget you can check out hundreds of others here on the channel. You can also show your continued support by heading over to my new merch store or by checking out invincibleasia.com, where you can read my full movie reviews and follow me on Instagram at InvincibleAsia. Until next time though, enjoy your Kung Fu and I will see you soon.